Welcome to the Divorce Mindset Makeover Summit. I am so glad that you're here. I am Marcia. This space was created for women who, on the outside, look like she's holding everything together, but inside, something doesn't feel the same anymore. Maybe you're separating, maybe you're already divorced, or maybe you're quietly asking questions you haven't said out loud. Wherever you are, you're in the right place. These conversations are here to give you a space to think, to feel, and to begin seeing what's possible for you without pressure of having it all figured out. Today, I'm joined by someone who brings a powerful perspective to this space, Julie Mann. Julie Mann is an actor, a trained life coach, an EFT practitioner, and is known as the Habit Fixer. And she works with women who desire to create and live their best lives. Julie's work centers around health and wellness. She works with a healthcare brand that supports clients on both their inner and outer health, leaving them with fabulously glowing skin. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Julie, welcome.
Thank
So,
you so,
Julie,
so much.
this is so great. I'm excited. So, Julie, let's begin a little bit with you telling the audience a little bit about yourself, your divorce journey, and how you became known as the habit fixer.
As you mentioned, I have been an actor. Actually, I've been doing that for over 40 years. Actually, when I was acting, I felt great because I could be anything and anybody. But actually, in my real life, I actually didn't really feel enough. And as a result of that, I had lots and lots of habits that weren't really healthy and weren't really helping me. And as I progressed through life, I got to the point where I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was doing a voiceover for IKEA. I don't know if you have it in America.
Yeah, we
And
do.
I I had this kind of rush come over me, and in that moment, I was rendered speechless, and which is not very good if you're doing a voiceover. And it scared me that much that I thought, oh my God, I hope that doesn't happen again. And it became a
Mm,
self-fulfilling prophecy. I
mm,
just kept dwelling on it. And I went to see a hypnotherapist. And as a result of seeing her change that behavior and thought, wow, if someone could do that for me, what if I could do that
mhm,
for someone else? And that's how
mhm,
my journey through kind of getting to know myself and beginning to love myself and create habits that actually work for me rather than against me started. And when I was in my mid 50s, my husband asked for a divorce, which I wasn't expecting and
mhm,
didn't really want.
mhm,
Um, and at that time, also, I was going through the menopause. So it was a challenging journey.
mhm,
But actually, I realized that my mindset would make all the difference. And the way that I related to whatever circumstances I was dealt, because I couldn't do anything about things outside of myself, but I could certainly do something about the way I felt about it and the way I proceeded. I discovered that actually habits are the way to go. Having habits that work for us are the way to go. So I
mhm,
became known as the habit fixer and started helping other people to break habits that weren't working
mhm,
and create ones that actually empowered them and led them to the path they wanted to take.
mhm, mhm. So when you're working with folks in habits, are there any particular habits? And when you say habits, the word that pops in my mind is like a routine.
Yeah.
So when you say habits, are there any particular habits that folks, particularly women, and they were going through this season of divorce and things, were there any particular habits that were like pattern for folks that you saw when you were working with ladies?
I think that the way we see ourselves, obviously makes a little bit, has a big impact. And I think, if you're going through divorce, that can knock your confidence. So, people came to see me for issues around confidence and wanting to feel better about themselves, but also weight loss. But often what's underneath the issue that they come with is really the way they feel about themselves deep down. So
Mm-hmm.
it's connected to those limiting beliefs. And a lot of people, like myself, had this belief that I wasn't good enough. So that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm unlovable, of very,
Mm-hmm.
very common. And so the presenting issue is not always what's really going on. What's going on is at the core of their thoughts and their behaviors.
Hmm.
Does that make
Hmm.
sense,
Oh
Marcia?
yeah, it does. It very much
Yeah.
so does because I also felt that as I was going through this process. One of the things that, and I say the routines, I felt like I was not caring for myself the way that I normally would have been. It's like, for many women, when we get married, it becomes that thing where we take care of other people and we oftentimes leave ourselves. And then we wake up in these circumstances and you're like, who is this person? Like, where do I begin? It's like you don't see yourself the way that you did because life has happened, right? You got married, you have children, you changed completely, particularly after having children.
Yeah.
And then we get into the season where we're going through perimenopause and menopause. So it's a lot of stuff that's happening. And oftentimes during those circumstances, I've come across ladies who start to feel a lot of shame and a lot of blaming themselves for not being what they thought they should have been. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that unless we forgive ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and forgive what's going on around us, and perhaps the partner, then we're really going to stay stuck. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really interesting because I think the process of forgiveness is challenging for people because they think that if they forgive someone,
Mm-hmm.
they're condoning what happened. And it isn't
Mm-hmm.
about that at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's really that once we can let go of that blame
Mm-hmm.
and forgive ourselves or whoever we need to forgive, then actually we can move on and we can see a different perspective and we can start to really live our lives in the way that we want to.
Mm-hmm.
There's an expression, I can't remember exactly what it is, but something like if we're hanging on to blame, it's a little bit like taking poison ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
expecting someone else to
Yes.
suffer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really toxic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I also hear women say, and men too, but I also hear people say, that they've wasted, 20 years of their life
Mm.
because they were married. And I
Yes.
think not getting the point really, because nothing is wasted. It's a
Yes.
learning opportunity.
Yes.
It's an opportunity to learn and grow and flourish. And actually, anyone who believes that life is meant to be easy, I think, is kind of not, it doesn't work to think it's going to be easy
Mm-hmm.
because life isn't fair.
Mm-hmm.
And, as long as we can find ways to empower ourselves, which does mean taking care of ourselves, which does mean not putting ourselves at the bottom of the list. It means, nourishing ourselves, mind, body, soul, and I say skin too. And when we start doing that, not only do we feel better about ourselves and we fill ourselves up, we have the reserves
Mm-hmm.
to deal with whatever's happening. But
Mm-hmm.
also, it's important to remember that we're role modeling. So if we have
Mm-hmm.
children,
Yes.
not taking time for ourselves, we're not actually finding ways to love ourselves. They think that that's okay as well.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
see mummy doing that, and that's how maybe they're going to
Mm-hmm.
proceed too.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't work because it's like putting money in the bank, our own bank. If we put money in our own bank, then there's enough for when we're going to need those reserves.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you with that because that's one of the things that statement that you made was one of the statements that I heard so often when I went into community and groups. There were a lot of people in the chat saying that they've wasted all this time. And the thing that, as you were saying, the thing that came to mind for me was it's not wasted time. I have this beautiful young man and I've learned so much about myself. There are so many things that you sometimes, and I apologize for that dog barking, there's so many things that sometimes you don't think about, but you don't think about like how beautiful it is to know what you no longer want, what the gift of creating boundaries that no longer, to things that no longer serve you. And it is exactly the thing that I've come to know in these conversations with ladies is that it is totally about how we perceive things and our mindset. So one of the things that's important to me in working with ladies is mindset. If you can just get a hold
Yeah,
of what you're thinking and you're willing to do that, because that
yeah,
truly is a process, because you really have to want to how do you say, you really have to want to know the truth, and sometimes that truth can be
yeah.
an ugly truth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
We really need to mind our mind at all times. I think the other thing to remember is that for whatever reason we got with this person, that
Mm-hmm,
became our husband or,
mm-hmm,
significant other, we attracted them for a reason.
mm-hmm,
And I know for myself that the man I attracted I actually projected so much onto him. I thought he was someone that he wasn't.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
that wasn't his fault.
mm-hmm,
That was to do with me. And so I'm actually grateful. I'm now 15 years it's since I split up with my husband,
mm-hmm,
but I'm really grateful to him because I'm not the person I was when I met him,
mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
I'm much more the person that I've always wanted to be. And I think, it's an ongoing process, and all we
Mm-hmm.
can do is, you know, through those challenges, because let's face it, we don't learn through the good times.
No.
We learn through the
Mm-mm.
painful stuff,
Yes.
the
Mm-hmm.
trauma. That's where, in a way, the gift is. And
Mm-hmm.
if we can see it as such, then we can just become the person that we've always wanted to be on a day by day basis, because we're never
Mm-hmm.
kind of fixed. It's an
Mm-hmm.
ongoing journey, isn't it?
Oh, it's definitely an ongoing journey. And, along with that comes the willingness to just be confronted by who you actually are, right?
Yeah.
To look in the mirror on those days when you're not feeling the best, to look when you're not even maybe behaving the best, right? Because we all have bad days.
Yeah.
And so to be able to be, how do you say, 100% accepting of who you are as an individual, I think that that plays a part of it too, and understanding that you are going to have bad days, you're going to have good days, and just loving yourself for who you are, because we are
Absolutely.
imperfect human
I
beings.
love that expression,
Yes,
Marcia. Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
we
totally.
are. I mean, listen, I have good days and bad days, and one of the things that I've learned when I'm having that bad moment, or I may have said something that could be taken the wrong way, is to be accountable and just say, you
Yeah.
know what, that did not come out the way I had hoped it'd come out, but
Yeah.
I want you to understand that I do respect you and I do appreciate you and I love you. So
Yeah.
forgive me. And, how does that feel for you?
Yeah.
Like,
And
is
I
that
think,
okay?
having compassion for ourselves and really understanding that, most of us were just doing the best with the resources we have.
Mm-hmm.
And when we have new resources, we can start to do things differently. But I think it's important to acknowledge that, and to acknowledge how far we've come. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's difficult to see that, especially on days when, perhaps things aren't working. But, as long as we're doing our best, and we can have some compassion for ourselves, which I know is, it's easy. I think that's one of the hardest things to do, actually, is
Mm-hmm. It
to
is.
begin that journey of getting to know who we are, and starting to love ourselves. A lot of people like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not brought up with parents who can role model that, then,
Mm-hmm.
how do we find that stuff out?
Mm-hmm. And it does happen for a lot of us as we age, right? Because we get into different environments with things, and then there's like these aha moments that come out. And I look at that when I think about my son. He's just so much more, how do you say, emotionally mature than I was his age, right? Because he has the benefit of me having experienced those things, and I'm always sharing, because I think it's important to share. Because why do you need to go start where I started from? You can start from from this point
Exactly.
to be better, right?
He can have the
So
benefit of your hindsight, can't he?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So when we talk for yourself, can you talk a little bit about the self care piece for yourself, for what you do for ladies as well?
Yeah, so I work with using life coaching and EFT, which is a very simple tapping technique. EFT stands for emotional freedom technique. And it's really based on the premise that any negative emotion is a disruption in the body's energy system. And it involves tapping on specific points. I use the face, karate chop point,
Mm-hmm.
collarbone, under the armpits, top of the head, and using language as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of interrupts brain patterns and offers an alternative possibility. And when I say, the premise is negative emotion, of course, they feel negative, they don't feel great, but
Mm-hmm.
actually, emotions are emotions and all of them are completely valid. And it's really, really important that we feel our feelings. But most of
Mm-hmm.
the time, we get caught up in our head with the thoughts which go on a loop.
Mm-hmm.
And I've read recently, I can't remember the exact statistic, but over 90% of our thoughts, I mean, probably nearly, 99%, I'm not exactly sure, and I don't know how they work it out, of
Mm-hmm.
our thoughts are not original. We had them
Mm-hmm.
yesterday and the day
Yeah.
before. So when we get caught in a loop like that, the thoughts create an emotion,
Mm-hmm.
but we get caught up here rather than dropping down into our body and feeling the emotion, which is really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to see emotions a bit like sort of flags waving, because when we can identify and acknowledge the feeling that we have, which does mean kind of interrupting that pattern,
Mm-hmm.
becoming conscious that we're doing that loopy thing,
Mm-hmm.
we can actually discover what need is underneath the feeling. So,
Mm-hmm.
say we have a feeling, we feel scared, or we feel sad, or we feel angry, or we feel hurt, or we feel shame. There's a little flag going, hey, I need something here, I need something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about discovering what that is. And when we know how to soothe ourselves, when we know how to meet our own needs, and sometimes, of course, it's other people that we need to ask for their help. Then we have some autonomy. So it's really important to feel a feeling, and a feeling, if you feel it, will often just pass. It just wants to be heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then,
Yeah.
if we know what we're needing, we can find a way to meet that need, and that is the way to really grow and yeah, get to begin to really love ourselves. And I,
Mm-hmm.
I spent most of my time kind of just as this kind of, and you obviously knew how to body and it was functioning and doing what it needed to do, walking about, doing the things, but I was caught here in my
Mm.
head. So
Yeah.
it's just all up here. But actually, our body has the wisdom. Our gut is incredibly wise.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I work with people, I'm finding out how are they treating themselves? What is their day to day? What are their habits like?
Mm-hmm.
Because our habits, whether if they're, our habits dictate how our day goes, how our week goes, how our month, how our year goes, so the quality of your habits dictates the quality of your life. So they're
Mm-hmm.
really, really important. They might sound a bit dull,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not. They're really, really important. So most of the time we have habits that we just, we don't even think of them as being habits, we just do it. But it's important that we become conscious and ask ourselves, is that actually working for me, you know, that habit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's good stuff. Because one of the things when I think about the habits, what happens when you're doing something that has been a habit that is not so good for you? How do you deal with that when you're dealing with clients and they tell you their habits and then you go, well, that's not such a good habit. How do you
Well, they
get them
come,
to? Mhm,
yeah, sorry, they,
mhm,
they come to me because something's not working, they're stuck, and it will be to do with their habits.
mhm,
But it's really discovering what it is what they do want
mhm,
and
mhm,
why they want it. Sometimes people do stuff because they think they should do it,
mhm,
that they think other people expect it of them, but they don't really want to do it. So
mhm,
they have a habit and then they'll find that actually some of the time they're going to be sabotaging it because it doesn't really align with their values and who they are and what they want for their life, but they're not really conscious of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be asking them, what are they doing and finding out what it is they want and why they want it.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Okay.
if they're going to break a habit and start a new one, the thing about habits that has people be so challenged is that you can't see the result immediately. If you
Mm-hmm.
go to the gym, you're not going to get a six pack in a week if
Mm-hmm.
that's what you want. So, it takes time. And because we can't see the result, people often think, oh, it's not working, I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's really, really important if we know that that is the habit we need to practice on a daily basis in order that that's a future reality, that we
Mm-hmm.
actually keep to that habit. And having someone to be accountable to, a
Okay.
friend who can support us, or a coach or someone like you, then
Mm-hmm.
that's really helpful. Someone who's got our back and yeah, will can hold us to the account on it.
That's good. That's good. So many people, when we talk to them about self-care, some of them feel like pretty guilty about like
Yeah,
prioritizing themselves and, just making sure that they are doing well. Sometimes I've heard folks say that that's kind of selfish. And what's your
yeah.
thought on that?
I think probably, I wasn't brought up to care for myself. My mum always looked great for my dad. She kept the house clean, she made sure dinner was on the table, did all the things. But actually, she didn't teach me about self-care. But it's absolutely essential. It's a bit like if you're on an aeroplane, when they talk about the mask dropping down, that the adult puts the
Mm-hmm.
mask on first before they put the mask on the children.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is essential that we practice self-care. And, I hear women say, "Oh, I don't have time to wash my face." And I think that's just crazy. Don't have time to wash your face. And what are you role modeling? So, for me, self-care is mind, body, soul, skin, and it starts really in the gut. So it's
Mm-hmm.
if it's a mind, if it's mindset, it's like what's going on in your mind? What are you feeding your mind? Who are you surrounded by? What's your environment like? With your body, are you nourishing it? Are you feeding your
Mm-hmm.
gut? That's essential. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, all those things, and
Mm-hmm.
food that's going to give you energy and sustain you, or are you just filling it with comfort food and empty calories? Which, I mean, a few empty calories, that's absolutely fine. It's not about being perfect. It's about being
Mm-hmm.
imperfectly perfect, isn't it? But
Mm-hmm.
actually, we need to get that the fuel that we put in will have a huge impact on the energy that we have and our ability to, get through the day and sleep well and all those things. So obviously, exercising is important. I am 68 now,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I am so aware of the importance of being strong,
Mm-hmm.
and things like being able to. If I fall over, getting off the floor. If the
Mm-hmm.
moment we can't get up off the floor, we lose our independence and our autonomy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, so looking after our body, what does your soul want? And the benefits of nourishing your gut, because there's a gut brain connection.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have a clearer mind, but also it will make an impact on your skin. So often, dull skin or problem skin can be as a result of a gut issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
nutritionist, but that's absolutely something I know. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That's great. And I find do you, let me ask this question. Do you find that when you're working with women and they're addressing their health and they're addressing where they are in that moment, and they may not be feeling like really proud of themselves physically, is there something that you would recommend to them during this particular stage? Because I've worked with women, and we've had, I think we said this before, where they're like, I don't, I've given up my body and things, I just don't feel comfortable anymore. No one will want me, and things like that. how do you work with them to get them to that mindset to understand that this beautiful body that we had that allows us to bring other human beings to the planet can, over time, if you choose, can improve itself because it's a matter of getting into a routine. It's a matter of fueling it correctly. It's a matter of hydrating it. I think we can always change. And, I too am over 60. I'll be 64 this year. And I just know me and my how I feel. The more I take care of myself, the better I feel. And that statement that you made about, falling down and not getting back up, society has a way of telling us as people in general, but, as a woman in this society and aging, that, when you go to the doctor, they go, have you fallen anytime? And I'm like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
what's with the falling, but
yeah,
it's something that, is really important. So working with folks to get them to see, and again it's back to the mindset that this life is what we make it,
yeah.
and we have the opportunity to create so much, and sometimes folks are so limited in their thoughts in that. So
Yeah, I think that sometimes, if someone is working with me and initially, they have a very poor opinion of themselves, and it's too much of a stretch for them to even think that they could possibly have a body that they love if they've hated their body all their life. But it
mhm,
is about acknowledging what's so.
mhm.
So it's not about pretending that they have, that are just trying to, it's not like toxic positivity. It's about,
Yeah.
it's just, I let the woman, using EFT, I let the woman actually just speak about how it is, the kind of stuff that she doesn't like, and then working together, we can transform that over time. I can support her to do that. But
Mhm,
initially, she might think there's no hope because most women probably don't come to someone unless they're really desperate.
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is too much of a stretch to think that they could possibly have, this body that they love. But, we have the body we have. And
Mhm,
change doesn't happen by not accepting what we have. So
mhm.
sometimes accepting, not accepting what we have is a way to start to shift that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah.
absolute sense. Yeah. Again,
Yeah.
it's
So I'm
back to
not going to
the
tell someone she has a beautiful body if for her that's too far-fetched.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Because she
She
really
only
does have
has
to
to,
believe it. She has to believe it in order to be able to even create the slightest change. She
yeah,
has to believe that her body
yeah,
is this powerful thing, right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the key there, what you said, because she doesn't, because no one has to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't, then there is no possibility of, the potential outcome that, we might desire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No,
But we
that's
can't be, but we can't make anybody do anything, or you know, no one has to have a great life, and you can choose to have a good life, a great
yeah.
life.
Mm-hmm.
And it is about choice. It's about choosing who you surround yourself with,
Yeah.
choosing, what's important to you, your boundaries, all those things. It's a choice. And sometimes you won't like the choices that you have, but you have a choice.
Yeah. And you know what? Some of the choices that you don't like, they actually change when you change, right? Because when you
Yeah.
change and you
Yeah.
start seeing the world a little bit, just a little bit bigger than where you were, all
Yeah.
of a sudden things around you look totally different.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
sometimes when you start to shift your belief about something and people start to behave differently around you
Mm-hmm.
because you're different, and they sometimes you think that they've changed, but actually you've changed, and they can't relate to you in the way that they did before
Mm-hmm. Yep.
because so yeah, I think I think we have so much power, don't we, Marcia?
Yeah, we do.
We can do, and we are so much more than we could ever think that we are. The potential
Hmm.
is enormous, but if
Hmm.
we're not willing to explore it, I
Hmm.
mean, it's, of course, sometimes we want to be in our comfort zone, don't we? But nothing much happens there, really. But, we can all get stuck in that. It's
Hmm.
only really by stepping out onto that skinny branch that we're going to experience something new. And that's when we feel alive. Yeah, scary, but that's when we feel alive.
Hmm.
And we're meant to feel alive. But the
Yes.
thing is, the brain wants to give us what it's already given us, like
Hmm.
it's, our brain is so brilliant in so many ways because obviously, once it's learned to do something, like we've learned to walk, we've learned to read and write, we've learned to drive a car. We don't want to have to learn to walk every day. So isn't that great? That's taken care of. But also
Hmm.
there are other things that happen, like we decide stuff when we're young, and we develop these limiting beliefs about ourselves that says, I'm stupid, I'm too fat, I'm unlovable, I'm not enough, whatever it is that are unconscious. And that's going to keep playing on a loop unless we interrupt it. And we have to be conscious because I don't know
Hmm.
about you, but have you ever experienced a time where you suddenly time just you don't know what's happened to the time, but you realize that, oh God, I'm just in my head.
Hmm. Often.
Yeah, yeah,
I
because
have
we're human.
often.
That's what happens.
Yes,
That's the
I have
machine.
often. Yeah. And you know what? The interesting piece is that this is not something that's like taught to us. It's something
No,
we seek out based upon, as you were saying, based upon the things that happen to us that are not so great, right? So we
yeah,
start seeking out, how do I deal with this? How do I make this feel better? And
yeah,
then you come across the things like EFT, and you come across the meditation, and you come across those healing things that help you sort of get to the next level. So
yeah,
it's interesting. I was looking at an article where they were teaching children in schools to meditate and breath work. And I was like, that's so cool because you are equipping them to be able to regulate themselves without the world coming in. So
yeah.
that's been something that I've been looking at
Oh.
that's pretty cool.
It's so brilliant. And I think also we're not taught about a relationship. We're not taught about boundaries and all that. So absolutely, massage and relaxation and ways to soothe ourselves, fantastic. But also, children aren't learning about how to relate and how to
Hmm.
connect and what connection feels like and what feels
Hmm.
good and what does, and I think that those things are really, really important. Learning to take care of ourselves and get that we are valuable. There's only one of
Hmm.
us.
Yes.
And, none of us know how long we're going to be on this planet.
Mm-mm.
We
No.
can kind of assume, we can kind of, assume that it's going to be a long time, but we don't know if, something could happen at the end of this call. We have no idea. And it's really, really important that we just grab life. And yeah, and celebrate being alive. And some days it doesn't feel like that, but
Hmm. Hmm.
it
But that
is an
is life.
extraordinary
That
life.
is life. Yeah. That is the thing that's life. How the kids say it? We're lifing.
We're lifing. I like
Yes,
that.
we're
I like that.
lifing.
Yeah.
So you know what? One of the things that I thought about when I was reading your bio, it's like the thing you said that you help your clients support themselves both with the inner and the
Yeah.
outer um, strength and the beautiful skin, because I am a fanatic for beauty products, right? So what can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that might be interesting to folks, particularly people who are looking to, better enhance themselves and to, create the bodies, or when you create the body, you feel much better, right? So that's a part
Yeah.
of that piece of self-care and healing as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So when it's appropriate, I recommend products to the clients that I work with. So,
Hmm.
and it will be things to support the gut.
Hmm.
There's something that I recommend, which is a sort of greens product and a prebiotic, probiotic, digestive
Hmm.
enzymes, but also a collagen.
Hmm.
It's not it's actually helps the body produce the collagen, and it's something that I take every single morning. And like I say, you nourish your gut, you nourish your skin will glow as well. So when it's appropriate, I recommend, skincare or smart nutrition,
Hmm.
things that work. And, things like recently, there's just been a product that is to help people with food noise, which is very common
Hmm.
as
And can you
we,
explain food noise
yeah,
for the
food noise
audience?
is when
Hmm.
you got all this, you can't stop thinking about food. And for
Hmm.
some, for I think most of us experience that to some degree.
Hmm.
And for other people, it's a real problem. And it's because the signal to the brain to say I'm full, it is not as clear as it used to be. And so some people are on the jab, the weight loss jab,
Hmm.
and some people are, struggling with that. And this is a product that actually works with the body,
Hmm.
strengthen the signal to say I'm full.
Hmm.
So it's a
Hmm.
nutraceutical, not a pharmaceutical, and something that, is kind of natural and works with the body. So things like that are exciting. And, if that's appropriate, then I will recommend that. But
Hmm.
I've been using the products for 16 years and I won't use anything else. So, yeah.
And look, it's showing you're looking beautiful.
Thank
You're looking
you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Like I said, I love things that make me feel good. And it's also a matter of sometimes people think that they don't have time for themselves. Can you speak about that just a little bit? Because sometimes it's like everything else in our lives, we're all mandated with this thing with time. We have a thing with time. I got so much to do. I don't have time to take care of myself. I just find when I take that moment to like either take a long shower, do a wash or some bath
Yeah.
salts or something, it just makes me feel so much better.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
to I really think, Marcia, that we can't afford not to take care of ourselves because we've said it. Life is challenging. Stuff happens. We don't know what's going to happen,
Mhm.
what we're going to be dealt with, and if we don't have the reserve, if we haven't filled that bank up,
Mhm.
then we're going to be left empty, and we can experience burnout and all sorts of health issues. We have one body and we have to take care of it because ultimately, it's got a shelf life, and the more we can do to nourish ourselves, that the better our experience of life is going to be. And without our health, that's hard. That's hard
Yeah,
to
it's very hard.
we don't
Yeah.
have our health. But
Mhm.
also, like you say, you enjoy that time. I mean, I used to. It's probably only really 20 years ago that I started to kind of nourish myself in that way with products and things.
Mhm.
I used to be given stuff for Christmas and I'd kind of leave it for best and then it would be off before it was ridiculous,
Mhm.
But
Yes.
actually it's just
Yeah.
getting that we're worth it. And
Yes.
that, you can buy all the clothes you like, but if that's what people see.
Mhm. Yeah.
And if that's not glowing, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? We look more
Mhm.
youthful when our skin has a healthy glow.
Mhm.
So, you can't hide
Mhm.
it unless you're wearing a veil or something.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's absolutely vital. And the impact of not taking care of ourselves will show up, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but maybe the year after. And we
Mhm.
have no
Mhm.
idea. And we have to kind of be ready for impact because at some
Mhm.
point something will happen which will challenge that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, do you have, along with the routine for the inner and also the outer, do you also have a sort of like a fitness routine that you do?
I don't recommend that to clients, but I certainly do. Yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I'm a member of a health club and I'm probably there, well, at least 4 times a week doing yoga, Pilates, yoga Lattes.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And sometimes I've even been there 6 times a week and I absolutely love it. And I
mm-hmm,
really, love that time for me. I love that I'm leaving the house, going to my kind of sanctuary. It's only 12 minutes
mm-hmm,
away. And
mm-hmm,
it just feels good. And like I say, getting older, I want to be strong.
mm-hmm,
And it's really interesting because, when I meet people, I mean, I've heard, well, men have said to me things like, "Oh, you look great for
Hmm.
your age."
I know.
I know.
Okay,
It's that thing.
yes.
It's like a slap right in the face.
Yeah, it's like
But
what?
I know. But there's such
Yeah.
the conversation around aging, particularly for
It's
women,
for women,
women
it's
is not great.
red.
It's
No, it's
not great.
not.
Well,
Mm-mm.
oh, you're not getting any younger, well, it's a slippery slope. Like you have to give in
Yeah.
and just kind of slide into insignificance. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be like that. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think, it is about taking care of ourselves, but it's also about our attitude,
Mm-hmm.
having an attitude of gratitude, you
Yes.
know, um, being curious about life, being
Mm-hmm.
curious about who we are, being curious about stuff that's going on. I think all of it is going to really help us stay young. Being playful
Mm-hmm.
I think is essential. So, um, yeah, like I say, mind, body, soul, and skin.
Hmm. No, I totally agree. It has been a big part of me. Just making sure that I have a routine and I'm doing. And as we get older, women in particular, it's important for us to create our muscles, right? It's important for us
Yeah,
to create some space where we're lifting weights and things like that. And you
yeah,
can say I can see the difference in myself. And I think because I've always been doing that kinds of
yeah,
stuff, it's like the body remembers. So even if you take a little bit of break, it sort
yeah,
of like starts picking up and things like that. So when I'm working with folks, I always often say it's really important, even if you give yourself 10 minutes a day to
yeah,
go for a walk, to stretch. I'm really big on stretching in the morning to give my body that energy to get it going, and
yeah.
and then just stretching in the evening before I go to bed. But I'm not one of those people that has the issue of going to sleep at night. If my head hits the
Yeah,
pillow, I'm
you're
done.
yeah, but the
I'm done.
quality of sleep's important, isn't it? That's the
Mhm.
thing.
Yes, very much
Not
so.
just
Yeah.
any old sleep. It's yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Mm.
also, I think, going out into nature is enormously restorative. But
Yes.
also, if we're a little bit we're overwhelmed, or we're just having a challenging day, just
Hmm.
getting out into a different environments are really, really important. They really affect us in many, many ways.
Hmm.
And that includes being at home. Your environment matters. If you're in a
Hmm.
cluttered environment, maybe your mind's a bit cluttered, I don't know.
Hmm. No, I
But
agree. Hmm.
things like, actors have a green room. Why is it green? Because that is a color that, there are lots of things that we can do to calm
Hmm.
ourselves down, have us feel better. And when we wake up in the morning, there's a little tiny bit of time, it's just a tiny little gap where we don't actually know who we are. And then we see our surroundings, we go, oh yeah, I'm Julie Mann and I live in Lewis. And this is who, yeah.
Hmm.
So we're
Hmm.
reminded.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
actually, if you've got, an environment that, I mean, I in my I had this plaster that needed replacing,
Hmm.
and this was quite a few years ago. And at the time, I didn't have the money to get it replastered, and it looked a mess. And so every time I woke up, I came out of the bedroom door on my way to the bathroom, I'd see this,
Oh,
and it
okay.
would remind me instantly that I didn't have the money to fix it,
Hmm.
and that would dictate the start of my day. Just a
Hmm.
little thing.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference.
Hmm. I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I not only do I do stretching in the morning, I also take at least 10 minutes to do just a short meditation because
Brilliant.
it grounds me. It sort of like starts the day and it keeps me in sort of like that ease and flow before I like sort of get off to get dressed, go to work and do all of that stuff. So yeah, that's really important as well.
Yeah. I
So,
think having that practice in the morning, Marcia, is really good. Set you up
mhm,
for the day, just
mhm,
that
mhm.
time taken. It's invaluable, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because as soon as the day starts, it doesn't actually always belong to you, right? It's the life stuff starts life in, and then you just sort of like, you're doing whatever it is you need to do because
Yeah.
that's just how it happens. So, Julie, as we are wrapping up the conversation, is there anything that you can think that you would like to say to the audience in particular when we talk about your work in healthcare, health and wellness that would maybe give them the thoughts on how to create the habits, like maybe like an initial habit that they could do in the mornings, or maybe a habit that they could create in the evenings that would help them to either relax or help them to be better start their day.
I think a really useful habit, and something that's very simple once you start to implement it, is when you wake up in the morning to think of maybe three things you're grateful for,
Mm-hmm.
and then and do that practice in the evening as well, so that you start on a positive note, so that before you go to sleep, you are also thinking about the great things that happen. So that will really
Mm-hmm.
help with your sleep. But I think the important thing is being kind. Be
Mm-hmm.
kind to you, yeah, really find ways to take care of yourself. I really believe that's our job. It's our
Mm-hmm.
job to find ways to be happy.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's good. So in that same happiness, one of the things that I would be doing in ending the sessions and the conversations that I'm having is that it's a question that I'm always curious about with folks, and I'm going to ask you that question.
Yeah.
So, Julie, what brings you joy?
I think, it's doing some exercise and realizing that I've progressed, and dancing. I love dancing. I'm always cranking the music up and dancing in the kitchen. Um, Being with friends, laughing. I love to
Not to
laugh.
laugh, so do I.
I'm part of an improvisation group, and we play, and I absolutely love it. And I think a lot of grown-ups think about play as being a childish thing, but actually, it's really important that we play as adults.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, so many things. Sitting on the bench outside my house with some sun on my face. You know. Laughing with my daughter. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
many things, many things.
Mm-hmm.
Silly things. I like silly things actually. Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool that you're into improv. I think that's
Yeah.
very, very cool. That has to be a sense of like, just like freeness and fun, right? It's like being a
Yeah, well,
child. It's like being a child again, right?
with improvisation, you have to kind of bring it in the moment. So it
Mhm,
teaches you to be present. And what I love about that word present is that that's where the gift is. When we can be in the present moment, that's where there's no past,
mhm,
because the past is gone, can't do anything about it.
mhm,
There's not yet a future, but being in this now moment is is where the joy is, where joy and
mhm,
happiness is. Yeah,
mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, Julie, this has been an absolute joy having this opportunity to speak to you and having to just share the things that can make us women better as we move through this life space. So I really wanted to thank you for spending this time with me. And listen, I'll be talking to you again
Thank
soon.
you, Marcia. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Take care, Julie. Thanks again. Thank you, Julie, for a great conversation. And if something from this conversation stayed with you, don't push past it, sit with it. And if you like support in exploring it more deeply, that's what I hold space for in my one on one work. For now, take what you need and move at your own pace. Take care, and I will see you in the next conversation.